we are going to cut around the dotted line. Do not cut anywhere else. Okay? When you're done cutting, stand up. So when you are done cutting, you should see no more dotted lines on the outside. Do not cut anywhere else, please. Guys, you've got to cut faster. Again, we're cutting a square. We should not be taking too long to get this done. All right, so what I want you to do now, do not fold anything. Turn your paper sideways, and you're cutting just these dotted lines to the slants. Do not cut all the way through. You're just cutting to that solid black line, so you have 3 flaps, okay? Do not cut all the way through. And then do it on both sides. Drag and cut. And then when you're done with that, you're going to fold each flap in, and you now have a smaller rectangle with flaps. Stand up when you're done. You can put the scissors to the side. You're not going to need them anymore today. Other way. Oh no, you're good. Just kidding. Sorry. Okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So the very first thing that you're going to be writing on is this first flap that says fraction to decimals. Now, this whole foldable is about converting a fraction to a decimal to a percent to a decimal, a percent to a fraction to a percent, all of that. And you're gonna be like, Miss Kenny, this is so much. But if you look at the steps, it's going to be extremely easy. It's one way and then the opposite way. So it's not as hard as it's going to possibly appear. We're not gluing anything yet. We're just getting ready to write. So you should not have anything glued in, because I don't want you to glue it in because it's going to be too hard to write on it. Okay, so if you're gluing, that means you're not listening, and that's a problem. All right, so open up the one that says fraction to decimal. Just that one. Keep everything else closed so you also stay inside of that box you don't want to write outside. So at the top you need to write convert fractions to decimals. And then draw a line underneath it. There is only one step when you're converting a fraction to a decimal. You have to divide the numerator and raise your hand and tell me which one is the numerator. Which one is the numerator? Kira. So divide the numerator by the denominator. And then obviously we know if the numerator is the number on the top, we know that the denominator is the bottom number. Alright, that is the only step you do when you take a fraction and you write it as a decimal. Alright, so stand up when you have this part written. Why are you writing in a highlighter, son? Highlighter, okay. All right. If you're sitting in a seat that you feel like you're not gonna be able to see, you can always move forward. You can drag your chair forward, grab a clipboard and move forward. It's completely up to you. Do you need a highlighter, or you got a highlighter? Did you grab a yellow marker?
Not a yellow one.
Technically, is that not a highlighter? I mean, it's a highlighter color. Probably not an Expo. Is that a regular marker? That's an Expo marker. Probably just a regular marker. Mind blown.
What'd you say?
I said mind blown. All right, the fraction that we are going to do for this one, for our example, is going to be 1/8. Okay, so what we're doing here is we are dividing our 1 by our 8. And you're going to be like, Miss Kenny, we can't do that because the 1 is smaller than the 8. That is not true. You can divide a smaller number by a bigger number. Okay, you just have to do what? Yes, so hence the reason why we did all that stuff before we started 6th grade stuff. Because all of that stuff you need to know in order to be able to do this. So we add our decimal here, and then we just go through our process. What do I multiply 8 by to get 1? Nothing. So I'm going to put a 0 here because we're dealing with decimals. Add a 0 here. What do I multiply 8 by to get 10? Alex? 1. So I do my subtraction. All right, I have 2. I have to add another 0, bring this down. What do I multiply 8 by to get 20? Sincere? 2. All right, when I do that, I get 4. I have to add one more 0 to finish this up. And what do I multiply 8 by to get 40? Samantha? 5. Which will ultimately... So 1/8 written from a fraction to a decimal is 1 25/100. If it will focus. So when you're finding a fraction to a decimal, you divide the top number by the bottom number, no matter what. Okay? You will always get a decimal because ultimately, if your fraction is correct and not an improper fraction, this number will be smaller than this number. So you'll always come up with a decimal. The other thing you need to realize, guys, is a fraction, a decimal, and a percent are all out of what? See if you guys know. A whole. One whole. And you're going to be like, but Miss Kenny, that's not true with percents, but it is true with percents because ultimately, what's our goal? We always want to get a what? 100%. Okay? So think of fractions and decimals. Obviously, they're below one whole. And any percents are, if it's not 100%, it's also below a whole. All right, thumbs up when you have all this written down. All right, let's go ahead, close this flap, slide your foldable over, and we're going to do the fraction 2% now. All right, so same thing, you're kind of going to title, we're going to convert fraction to percent. All right, so there are 3 steps with this one. This one is a little bit more involved just because you have to do a couple more steps. So the first thing that you would have to do is convert the fraction to a decimal. Okay, so ultimately you have to do this step first. Does that make sense? So you have to take your fraction and make it a decimal before you can take your fraction and make it a percent. Step number 2. Move the decimal 2 places to the right. All right, it's always 2 places no matter what. So I want you guys to just highlight this whole thing because this is really, really, really important. You're never going to move it more than 2 places. You're never going to move it less than 2 places. You're always moving it 2 places to the right no matter what. And then step number 3, you're going to add a percent symbol. All right, so those are the 3 steps. And we'll also go ahead and say convert fraction to decimal because that's important. All right, stand up when you have this written down. we're gonna make this a little bit easy on ourselves. So we're gonna use the same fraction that we did fraction to decimal, because we've already done that, right? We've already converted it to a decimal. So I wanna make sure that we don't spend a ton of time doing all of that. So 1/8 to a decimal. Remember, you have to do what? What do you have to do?
Divide it.
Raise your hand. What do we have to do? Guys, I just simply need you to read me the step. It's right here. I'm not asking for rocket science. I'm just asking you to reread what you wrote. Gabriel. Y'all. I can say divided. Woo! Sorry, see, you got me throwing pens. I can say divided all day, but that doesn't tell me how to divide it, right? Thank you. Ansley.
Divide the numerator by the denominator.
Thank you. Divide the numerator by the denominator. It's important for you to get that stuck in your head. All right, so let's say we went through and we did all that. Why are you cutting anything? Put the scissors away. Put them away. So this becomes, as a decimal, 0 and 1 and 2,500. Or 1 and 2,500, sorry. So now here, tell me, and this is where your skinny writing utensil is going to come in. So we've converted a fraction to a decimal. Step number 2 tells us what are we going to do here. Samantha,
You gotta move the decimal 2 places to the right.
you have to move it 2 places to the right no matter what. So I move it 2 places to the right, and then this, I'm going to rewrite it with my new decimal. And then the last step tells me to do what? What does the last step tell me to do, Alex?
Add a percent sign.
Add my percent sign. So that is converting a fraction to a decimal. It's not too hard because we've already done the convert from fraction to decimal part. But again, it's not really hard. It's just it's a couple of steps. So thumbs up when you have this. All right, slide down to decimals to a percent. So this one right here, decimals to a percent. So go ahead, open up everything but that one. Sorry, keep everything closed but that one. I'll get it together, I promise. And title it, Convert Decimals to percent. Are you not going to put this in? You can throw that away.
I don't think this was one of these.
All right. So convert decimals to percents. Now, step number 1. You're going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. And then step number 2, you're going to add the percent sign. All right, so the only difference between this one and converting a fraction to a percent is that you don't have to do the fraction part, right? So this is 1 step less than converting a fraction to a percent. All right, stand up when you have all of this written down. Please make sure you have the highlighted part as well. Isaac, just go ahead and start on like the next one that we're gonna do, and then I'll give you the foldable to get caught up on the others. You need a highlighter, a skinny either marker or colored pencil, and a pair of scissors to cut out your foldable. So stand up when you are finished. What are you doing, babe? What are you doing? For what? A bracelet? In the middle of my class. You can beg me to not have sat lunch for at least a week and a half then. Like, we are in the middle of a lesson, and that's the most important thing on your mind. I need you to understand why that's not an intelligent move. All right, the example that we are going to do is 7,500. So step number 1 tells us to do what? What does step number 1 tell us to do? Silas. Move the decimal to the right 2 times. So 1, 2. So that becomes 75. And then step number 2 tells us to do what? Alex. Add the percent sign. Okay, that is how you convert a decimal to a percent. Okay? All right, this next one, decimal to a fraction, there's a little bit more writing with it. So you need to make sure you write small enough that you have room, but don't write too small that you can't read it. Does that make sense? So just keep in mind that you have to write a little bit more than what we've been writing. All right, thumbs up when you have this written down and you're good to move on. Mason, are you finished, babe? All right, so close that and open up your decimal to fraction. All right. This is where being able to say a decimal correctly is going to be extremely helpful. Because if you can say 7/500ths, you know how to write your decimal. If you don't know how to say 7/500ths, or you don't know how to say 3200ths or 3/10, it's going to be a lot harder. Because if I say 3/10, what do you think my fraction is going to look like? 3/10, right? If I say 7/500ths, what is my fraction going to look like? 75/100. So that's why it is so important for you guys to really start using the correct, not 0.75, but actually using the decimal name. So that's going to be a big emphasis moving forward when we're talking about percents and whatnot, okay? So just keep that in mind. Now, what I just said, we're going to put into words. That's why it's a little bit more than the other ones. So step number 1. Write the decimal. Over 100 if it has a number in the hundredths place. Sorry. And then write the decimal over 10 if it has a number in the tenths place. And then obviously with fractions, we always try to simplify. I'll get my hand out of the way in a second. Hold on. All right. Stand up when you have this written down. Like I said, I know that's a lot, so. We're going to add some highlights in here in a minute, but I want to make sure everybody gets this copy down first. Can you see? Who punched you? Who punched you? So that's what happens when you run them up?
What?
No, I'm just kidding. You got another one on your other arm. Down, down, down. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and highlight some keywords. Obviously, we're going to highlight the ones that are underlined. All right, so our first example is that decimal. So please raise your hand and tell me, what does that, how do you say that decimal? How do you say that decimal? Everly,
50.
baby, look at the number. That's not the number I just wrote. Gabriel, that's not the number. Sincere, please save me. Yes, 75 hundredths. So, Sincere, if it's 75 hundredths, I put 75 on top. And what number do I put on the bottom? Okay, it's that easy. So, all of that writing, you say the decimal, you write it as a fraction. That's it. That's what all that explanation is saying. Yes?
Still have to simplify.
We do have to simplify, but technically that's how you do it. Just, you say the decimal, you write it as a fraction. Now, yes, we always want to try to simplify if possible. So what can we simplify 75 and 100 by, right?
34.
That's what it becomes. What do you divide it by? No. The fraction is 3/4, yes, but we got to divide it by something first. And you'll be like, duh, when you hear the number.
You have to divide it by 25.
Yes. Right? 25. You're right. It's 3/4. It does make sense. Just stop. Just sit up and keep writing. Lord, child. All right. So that's one if you're putting it over 100. Here's your next example. Okay, there's your next example. So I want you guys to write the fraction. Don't simplify it or anything, just write the fraction. Just write the fraction. And that is not an S, by the way. All right, what is our fraction going to look like? Zachary? Okay, so it's 5 and then it's over 10 because it's in the tens place. And then what do we divide both 5 and 10 by? Okay, which gives us 1/2. Okay. If you want to, you can. But to me, that's always something you try to do with a fraction. But you are more than welcome to highlight, simplify if you need to. All right, so again, a lot of writing for a very simple step. Okay? All right, thumbs up when you have this. Perfect. Let's go ahead and move on to percents to a decimal. So this one on the bottom, down here. All right, so we are converting percents to fractions. This one has 2 steps. All right, first step, you're going to rewrite the percent over 100, and we're gonna rewrite over 100 as a fraction. Can you also rewrite the percent? Yes.
You put fractions. It's decimal.
Oh. Hold on. This is why y'all use pencils. Drake, remember you asked me last night what this thing was for? Yeah. Look at that. That's why I keep y'all around. Make sure I'm doing everything right.
So you want me to say how earlier on the other ones you put it
It's okay. Remember, I'm a numbers person, not a word person, so I'm just making sure y'all.
I said I'm not a months person.
Oh,
Just a
well.
test.
Exactly. It's just making sure y'all are paying attention. See, look at that. Phew. No problem.
It's just EOG, no big deal. Here, the perks of there is no EOGs in middle school, are there? But there are. Yes,
Get out.
there is.
You are so special in all the right ways.
I thought
All right. So, sorry. Converting percents to decimals. Shh. We are going to first step, remove the percent sign. And then step number 2, we're going to move the decimal two places to the left. Why are we moving it to the left and not the right? So think about that for a second. Why are we moving our decimal to the left and not the right?
because it's like the opposite.
Exactly. It's the opposite. So you have to do the opposite, right? All right, and then here's our example. Angel, you finished, babe? Come get this, and I will give you a, just get it cut out, and I'll get you caught up when we're done, because we have one more left. All right, stand up when you have this written. I added that extra thing. So in parentheses underneath that, write opposite action. You can wait a second. We'll get there. It's okay. We're almost done. Stop complaining. Everybody else's arm hurts too.
I'm the most sore here.
I'm the most sore. I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest.
I had 2 football.
And I'm just
She's older
old.
than us because she's old and she has to put on.
Exactly.
Yes. And she had to
You mean her voice is so
Guys, you have so much work to do today. The fact that we just think we can keep on talking, woo.
No, we only got one.
Hush. All right, so you need to highlight the word remove, and you need to highlight the words percent sign. Then highlight decimals, 2 places, and then left. And then this is going to be our example. So, step number 1 tells us to do what? Step number 1 tells us to do what? Blake. All right, so what I'm going to do there is I'm going to cross it off with my color. Okay? So the percent is gone. So then I'm just left with 42. Step number 2 tells me to do what? Step number 2 tells me to do what? Ansley.
Move the decimal 2 places to the left.
All right, so I start here and I go 1, 2. And that is my new decimal place, so therefore my answer is 42 hundredths. All right, thumbs up when you have this done. Alright, so the last one. Obviously, you can go ahead and get a little bit ahead of me. Open up percents to fractions. You're going to need to write convert percents to fractions. And then step number 1 is that whenever you remove the percent sign. So that's step number 1. You should be writing. Stop talking. So rewrite the percent over 100 as a fraction. And then underneath here, put or over 10. So whichever one it works out to be. And then step number 2 is obviously to simplify. Stand up when you have this written. stand up when you have this done, face forward. Should not be looking around anywhere else. All right. So the example. We are going to essentially use the same number as before, so we're going to do 42%. All right, and what does it tell us to do? What's step number 1? Kira? Okay, so with this one, with 42%, Kira, what am I going to rewrite? Like, put it over. Yes. And how did you figure out I'm putting 42 over 100? Is it bigger than 10? That's why. Okay, that's why, because it's bigger than 10. All right, that's how you do that. Now, obviously, step number 2, we always have to try to do, can we simplify 42 hundredths? Yes, no?
Yes.
All right, raise your hand. Tell me, what can I divide 42 and 100 by? Drake?
It's either 7 or 6.
No, it's not. It's neither one. Like, you're going to get silent if you want to keep acting a fool right now. Samantha? Yes. So you end up with 21/50. Please make sure you go in and you highlight rewrite over 100 or over 10. All right, whew. We are done with that part of the writing. What? Well, we're not done with the day. All right, shh. So at this point, you're going to take this and you're going to glue this in on this page. The page that says fraction decimal percent foldable. So flip it over. See where it says glue on this side? That's where you're gluing. Down here. It's really like foolproof.
Wait, this side.
Do not talk, y'all. Please stop talking. Please stop talking. Please stop talking. I'm going to say it one more time. Please stop talking. Now, you are going to need to use this for the next activity that we're going to do, as well as probably the homework that you're going to end up with today, depending on how quickly we move through the next activity. Okay? What? No, we're in the middle of instruction. All right, please get this half sheet out. Do not put your skinny marker or colored pencil away because you're going to be using it. So I want you to title this FDP for fraction decimal percent. I'm not going to write it all out. Practice problems. And then today's date, which is 10/11. All right, so what do you notice about this handout? What do you notice about this handout? Looking at the handout. Zachary. Say that again. Okay, right. So you're essentially having to write the fraction decimal because the percent is already done for you. You're going to have to, for the next couple, write the decimal and the percent, and for the last ones, write the fraction and the percent. We are going to do this together. We're not going to do this separate. Okay, this is going to be done together. Yes?
Just get your teeth.
I'm so sorry. I also thought today was Thursday, so yeah.
I wish it was.
How excited?
So mad when I woke up and realized that it was not Thursday.
What's on Thursday?
Nothing. It was just closer to
The
Friday.
day before Friday. Why not Friday?
Because I didn't think it was Friday. I thought it was Thursday.
I'd rather think it was Friday. I thought it was Thursday.
Guys, like. All right. So looking at the first one, how do we take a percent and write it as a fraction?
I didn't get that. Could you try
Am I
again?
talking to you? No. Shh. I was
Dang,
trying to
this
talk
is
to
gonna get
somebody.
serious,
I know, right? Shh.
Lonely.
Angel, say it again. Okay, so the percent sign is gone. Then what do I do, Angel? Nope. So guys, this is why. This is right next to your foldable. So we're going from a percent to a fraction. So over here you say, okay, down here, I'm gonna flip open this one and I'm gonna read what it says, right? So when I go from a percent to a fraction, it says rewrite the number or rewrite the percent over 100 as a fraction. So now I've gotten rid of my percent sign. What is my fraction gonna be? Ansley.
1800s.
So 1800s. Okay? So now I'm going from a fraction to a decimal. So which one do I need to be looking at in my foldable? The top one. So the top one says convert the fraction to a decimal. Sorry, that's percent. Haha, top left one. Sorry. Divide the numerator by the denominator to get my answer. Okay, so you essentially need to do 18 divided by 100. Or is there an easier possible way we could do this?
Just taking the decimal and moving
Technically, we don't have a decimal, but
it.
we would.
Move it to
Well, just tell me what that fraction is again.
1800s.
1800s.
So it could just be point or decimal 18.
So all you have to do is know how to say that fraction, right? So that kind of eliminates a little bit of an extra step.
So we don't have to show our work.
Not for all of these. Some of these you will. But not all. Like if they're easy enough like that, I mean like these you should not have to show any work for. Okay? I mean we should be able to go through these without a problem. Alright, so the next one. Get rid of my percent sign, thank you. And then I'm going to essentially write this as a fraction. Raise your hand and tell me, what does 28 look like as a fraction? Yes?
28.
Yes. So, and I'm going to write it over here just so it doesn't run together. So 28 hundredths. So if that is my fraction, what is my decimal going to look like then? Okay?
28 tenths.
You just read me what the fraction is.
Oh,
28 hundredths. I was talking about the decimal. All right. The next two, let's do the next three. You're doing by yourself. Stand up when you have them done. Stand up when you have the next three done. Guys, you've been talking almost nonstop all day. One of you at that table the entire day. Please stop. This is the last time I'm asking y'all. All right, Sincere, tell me what my fraction is going to be for 78%. All right, raise your hand and tell me what is my decimal gonna look like. Alex.
78
Okay. The next one. All right, Silas. 98. Okay, and then what is my decimal gonna look like? Ansley. Okay, and then this one, this is not a trick. Like it's not, it's just same as the other ones. Kira. Okay. So you can write this two ways. Actually, technically, you could probably write that three ways, couldn't you? Because what is 5/10 or 50 hundredths? What's 5/10, 50 hundredths? Alex? It's just half. All right, so now we're given fractions. We have to figure out the percent and we have to figure out the decimal. So which one is easier? Which one do you think is easier? Right, because all you have to do is say the fraction, right? So that first fraction is 3/10. So I'm going to write over here 3/10. Now, how do I go from a decimal to a percent? Raise your hand. Tell me, how do I go from a decimal to a percent? And if you're not sure, flip open and look.
You have to move the decimal place 2 times to the left.
To the left or
No, to the right.
to the right? So 1, 2. And then what do I do?
Add the 0 and percent sign.
Okay, so then over here, this becomes a 0, and then my percent sign. Okay? All right, what about 2/5? This one's a little bit harder. Can we write 2/5 as a decimal?
Yes.
No. I mean, we can, but what do we have to do here? What do we have to do here? Stop. Question?
Multiply the fraction.
No. Nowhere in there did we talk about multiplying. What do we have to do? Samantha?
Divide the numerator by the denominator.
Yes. So on your notebook page, you need to do 2 divided by 5. Stand up when you have that solved. All right, what do you get when you do 5, or what do you multiply 5 by to get 2? Nothing. What do you multiply 5 by to get 20? Gracie? 4. All right, so then my answer to this one is 4/10. So I'm gonna go back here, I'm gonna put 4/10. All right, how do I take 4/10 and write it as a decimal? What do I need to do? I need new friends today. Blake.
Move the decimal 2 times to the right. That's 3 zeros. So it's 1%.
All right, you guys are doing the next 3. So do the next 3 for me. Some of them you'll have to show work, some of them you won't. Okay, like for example, you shouldn't have to show work for the next one for sure. Because that decimal should be pretty easy to write. Stand up when you have this done.
Oh yeah, you're 16.
When you have all 3.
Oh, all 3.
Yeah, you're doing all the next 3, guys. Stand up when you have them done. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get through this. So 1/4, what is that decimal gonna look like? Think about quarters. If you have 1 out of 4 quarters, what is your decimal going to look like? Zachary. Okay, and then how do we go from 2500ths to a percent? What do we need to do?
Put the decimal place to the right.
Okay. And then I add my percent here. All right, 11/20. So I'm not sure about that one. I'm gonna go ahead and do my math. What can I multiply 20 by to get 1? Nothing. What can I multiply 20 by to get 11?
Nothing.
All right. What can I multiply 20 by to get close to 110? Angel. 5? All right, and then obviously I'm going to multiply this by 5 again. So that is my decimal, 5500ths. So down here, how do I write 5500ths as a percent? DK, what do I need to do with my decimal here, babe?
You have to multiply 11/20ths by 5.
Okay, I can see why you did that. And that'll get rid of my decimal that way. Also, just remember, keeping it simple, just moving it 2 places to the right as well. Okay? So that is 55%. And then 1/5. Again, this one is kind of up in the air. You might need to show your work, you might not. No, I've already called on you. Hold on. Let me get someone new. So what is our decimal for 1/5? What's our decimal for 1/5? All right, Silas H.
40 minutes.
What'd you say?
20 minutes.
Okay, so 20 hundredths or 2/10ths, whichever one you want to do. All right, and then how do I go from 20 hundredths or 2/10ths to a percent? What do I have to do here? Mason, what do I got to do, babe? So how do I take this decimal and get rid of it to write it as a percent? Can't get rid of the 0. What do I have to do with my decimal? Look at the other 4 we've done. Yes. All right, and then this becomes 20%. All right. The last 5, we're going from a decimal to a fraction. 35 hundredths. What is my fraction going to look like for 35 hundredths? Alex.
35 over 100.
All right, and then personally, if you have your decimal, I wouldn't even mess with trying to go from a fraction to percent. I would just do this trick again and write it this way. I mean, there's lots of different.
Pardon the interruption. Today, boys PE will meet in room 407. Boys PE classes will meet in room 407.
All right, so go ahead, finish this chart up. Stand up when you have it done. You can write it as a 10, and it's still, so if it's 8 tenths, that is not going to be, it would just be, it would be 3 pages. So, yeah, I mean, this is the smaller version. If you do it 2 pages, that's the number you get. Sorry. So this one you would just like that. I mean, this is the line. Stand up when you're done. All right, let's quickly get these answers down and then I'll explain your homework. All right, what is this fraction going to look like? What's the fraction going to look like for the next one? Angel? 75 hundredths. All right, and then I move my decimal 2 places to the right, and I end up with 75%. Thumbs up. Did good on that one? Okay. The next one. Couple different ways you can write this. So give me one way that you guys wrote this. Samantha? 8 tenths. What was another way you could write this? It's another way you could write this. Gracie? Or 80 hundredths. Either one is correct. Now, no matter what, how many times do you move your decimal? Nobody should be packed up. Nobody should have a book bag in their hand, nothing. So no matter what, you move it twice, and then you end up with 80%. Now this next one, be careful, because you can only write the fraction one way. What's the one way you can write it, Kira? 4 what? 4 hundredths. Why can we not write this as 4 tenths? Why can we not write this as 4 tenths, Drake?
Because that is an extra 0 before the 4.
Right, it's got that extra 0, so it's in a different place value. Okay, and then the last one is 65 hundredths. You move it twice, and you end up with 65%. All right, stop and listen. Everything should be put down. You should not be writing. This is your homework. Okay? You can do all the work you need to do right here in these boxes. You don't have to do it on a separate sheet of paper. This needs to be colored as part of the homework. Okay, so whatever answer you get here matches the color down here, matches part of your picture. This is due tomorrow. Not Thursday, not Friday, or tomorrow's Thursday. Not Friday, not Monday. This is due tomorrow. All right, glue this paper in before you start packing up. I don't care if they're waiting outside. Glue this paper in, then pack up.